Here we are at the top of the hour on a Friday holiday weekend as we roll in through what is certainly unofficially the last weekend of summer. Meteorologically, that ended the 1st of September. Astronomically, or at least let's just say with the Gregorian calendar we use, that's 21 September, although the sun said fall arrived on the 5th of August. So there's all these kind of different ways to signify that the seasons are changing. The weather is certainly one of those, and we're going to see a dramatic shift in seasons across the Mountain West in the next 5 days. I mean, dramatic, and I'll show you an example of that right now. Denver is a large city along the Front Range, but let's look at its forecast as delivered by the iPhone. 100 tomorrow, 98 on Sunday, 91 on Monday, 37 Tuesday, with, look at that low, 26 degrees. A hard freeze is 27, or colder. Granted, this is probably DIA, so it's out of town a bit. We may catch a break, and in town, not quite as cold. But the agricultural interests, the rural interests, which responsible for the farming and for food production, are also out of town. As is this reading, this sensor, this location that we're getting this forecast for. And even then, temperature recovery is very slow on Wednesday, Thursday, now Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're back towards what is more typical for September. But this is just an idea of the stark drop that is coming. So the better part of a 50-degree drop inside of 1 day. Now, two typhoons. I hope there isn't audio with this, and if I do go full screen, that it doesn't show up. But what we're looking at is we got two typhoons over here, just one. And what happens is it ends up injecting a chunk of energy into the jet stream, and it has its way of working across the Pacific. This is a known function, but ultimately it potentially could impact this trough here. Now, I've been watching the wave responsible for this, which yesterday was over the Aleutian, so in some ways it has nothing to do with the typhoon, but that still impacts the jet stream with those huge injections of heat and humidity. That's just raw energy. That's raw energy for thermodynamics and for meteorology. So those are things that we love to play with. We like to see the jet stream kind of get energized by that because it makes for very powerful extratropical storms down the road. Extratropical meaning with a cold front and a warm front, not necessarily just homogeneous temperature-wise. All right, very interesting change in the way for some parts of the U.S. 50-degree drop in 24 hours. That's nearly 30 Celsius cooler from one day to the next. This is Denver, and we just showed you this Monday, where Sunday was a little more extreme. But this is a GIF of the ECMWF, the European models, as it paints the snows down the Front Range. Now, the American models, the GFS, the Global Forecast System, does not bring the snow this deep into New Mexico. It takes a little farther off to the east into Kansas, Oklahoma, and then the bulk of the far northern Texas Panhandle. So that's just something we're watching right there. Friday's heat risk, that just continues. So California really not going to catch a break at all from this. If anything, it may get a little bit worse. In fact, a bit of an offshore flow or a Santa Ana condition would sustain the heat for another day, another 2 days, potentially even longer that. But then the really, really rough aspect of that would be just the winds and the dry conditions that are already in place. So any fires that do show up could be kind of rough to handle, and with resources stretched so quickly or so dramatically already, that just is not a situation these guys need. So here we are with the max temperature departure from climatology for valid on Tuesday, and that's just, it's crazy, those readings. And we'll look at some that are just even a little more severe, and then, because it's the barnyard, and cows and chickens get along. Why shouldn't they? If they can get along, we can get along, right? It's not that difficult. All right, fires. Still standing at a national preparedness level of 5 out of 5. 83 large wildland fires burned now over 2.2 million acres. Firefighters contained the Bull Fire in Montana at just under 3,500 acres, while the remaining Montana fires made some major runs, meaning they've grown. 3 large fires were reported, new ones in California, and those 2 in Montana. 230 3 soldiers from the 14th Brigade Engineer Battalion, based out of Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State, that's Tacoma area, were deployed in support of the August complex. So there we are with one fire contained, 3 new large ones, and the number of active remains at 83. So that's kind of a rough go of it. All right, we'll start with records. These were today. Across the west, from El Paso to Challis, Idaho, up to Spokane, at or near records. The heat was a little bit hotter in those typically warmer locations. And then we approached nearly 40 records on Saturday, and that heat spreads eastbound to Denver, to Colorado Springs, to Alamosa, to Rapid City, out to Scottsbluff, Nebraska, up to Billings, Montana. It's just out there. What's this one in Washington? Omak. Okay, didn't know that. Pretty good with my geography, but some of these little guys kind of tend to sneak on through. But then we're up to 47 records on Sunday, and already you can see the northern locations kind of getting peeled back. There's no records in far northern Montana, northern Idaho, or Washington, maybe down towards Medford, Oregon, at 95 degrees, but then 102 showing up in Colorado. That's good old Pueblo, PUB, 89 in Alamosa. So the heat holds on through Sunday, and Monday is suppressed a little bit farther south. But the other side of this is by Tuesday we begin to see record lows showing up in Montana and Wyoming with this cold blast is coming through. But then again, even more record cold high temperatures, 28 of them on Tuesday, all the way down to Amarillo at 71 degrees, which would have been, let's see, maybe that is an Amarillo, Borger. Hutchinson Air Force Base, or Hutchinson. So 71 degrees, the record being 72. So we've got some chilly spots out there. Clayton, New Mexico, looking at 56 degrees, where the record is 5 degrees warmer at 61, set back in 01 with the data starting before 1900. So a lot of very cool high temperatures forecast, and then eventually record lows, where we'll likely see widespread frost across Montana, western and north central Nebraska, western South Dakota, maybe even into North Dakota at this point, and then certainly touching parts of Kansas and northern New Mexico. So we've got crops that are still significantly delicate at this point. The record heat from 130 in Death Valley about a week ago is now eased back to just 116. Grand Lake, Colorado, the cold spot yesterday morning at 25 degrees, and the Atlantic remains active. There are a couple of spots they're watching. Omar is now dissipated to a depression. Nana, which was down in the Belize area, did not survive the trek across the isthmus and will not emerge into the Pacific, or at least it hasn't yet, and then regain a name. But otherwise, we've got some low potential areas that are far enough out there that we'll see what they bring us. The potential is certainly there, since they've got thousands of miles to trek. All right, the Sunset Terminator getting ever closer at this hour, and we will kind of see the Sunset Terminator due north and south will be on the equinox. Lately, it's been shifted to where we've had more daylight up north and then less to the south, and that's going to swing as we head into the northern hemisphere winter pretty soon. The big story has been rains in Texas and the cool air as this deep low in the Hudson Bay area circulates that very pleasant fall-like air into the northeast. And we can see fire all the way through California. Another one here. And then maybe this even looks like a fire here. We'll come on in here because I have other maps that can show this. Yeah, that's definitely a fire just outside of Fort Collins. But thunderstorms, good rains. These have been really good rains across Texas. 2, 3, 4, even a few 5-inch rainfalls. So it's good. Eastern Texas, not really stressed by drought, but hey, the way things are going, we'll take it. We'll take the water. We'll take the water. We'll put it somewhere. It'll soak in. And then back into the northern Rockies, where we can begin to see these fire plumes as we get the lower sun angle. This is happening right now. So fires, and it's kind of amazing, since I'm down here in southern Colorado, we've really enjoyed some really blue skies and deeply blue enough that I was able to see Venus in the midday just yesterday. And that hasn't happened in a couple of weeks. These are actually morning lows, guys. I see over there Marlene, Karen, Robin. Vic is usually around there somewhere. She ends up on her phone one way or another. But these were this morning's temperatures, which were pretty tolerable, 15, so that's 9 o'clock Mountain Time, certainly approaching noontime on the East Coast. And so we'll refresh this and get us closer to the daytime highs. And there's the heat in the west. We got a little longer. We got a little longer before it goes. especially west of the Continental Divide. It's going to hang on there until at least Tuesday, and then we'll trim that heat back. But rain and thunder showers, it's Texas, Louisiana, parts of Arkansas, a few showers in Florida. Skinny line running south of the Mason-Dixon line off into, say, Chattanooga. The west is pretty dry. A few mountain showers trying to pop there. Let's see if we've got that. There's those bigger rains in Texas. They're now working to the northeast. Last night they were coming from the north. So as that high transitions off to the east, this baby in Missouri, as this high shifts east, that allows the return flow to come around and then begin to push the storms north, even as here's our warm front reintroducing the summertime heat and humidity back into Oklahoma and points north. Let's refresh this and see if we've got the Canadian data in. And there's the progress of the front. It really hasn't moved much from the other image. But north of this front, it's just beautiful September weather, and then still hanging on to fall south of that. Sounds like tropical storm season and hurricane season slowing a bit after a fast start. Yes, but we've already made it to the letter O. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. So we've gotten pretty far. We've had one big storm. In fact, there was a story about that, how many people are still down from the Hurricane Laura. That might have been... No, I don't know where that story ended up. It was just talking about, here it is, some of the lingering effects of Hurricane Laura per FEMA. 12,000 people in Louisiana still cut out of their homes, 10,000 in Texas. 49,000 customers in Louisiana don't have water to this day, and 488,000, so just under 500,000, are under boil water advisories. 7 wastewater systems are still down, and 14 more have an unknown status. So that's kind of the after effects of Laura. When you've got something that big and bad that goes on through, it doesn't just go away. It doesn't just go away. So let's look at the jet. Let's refresh this since the monitor. You can see right there, it's not quite all the way in. So we'll see if we can advance this bar a little bit farther. Yeah, that's pretty good. So what we're looking at is this big ridge out west. And this is the cool air that begins to form and then drop to the south. And just like a drop disconnected from the jet stream, it takes a bit to work its way back northward and get reabsorbed in. And then another cool surge, kind of right on its heels. And this wasn't present to the last earlier model, so this is absolutely a change. Previous, they tried to keep the jet stream running along the U.S.-Canadian border, which had meant the U.S. would have been protected from that kind of cold. But it looks like we'll see if this persists through tomorrow and the end of the weekend, but that would reintroduce another cold surge, another serious cold surge into the central and northern Rockies towards the end of the period, which is... 19 September, so 17, 18, 19 September. I'll be curious to see how this runs with temperatures. Let's do the same thing and update the data. That runs it nearly to the end. And look at this. This is all temperatures above normal. Where, find your location, find where you are. And if it's in the orange to red, you're above normal. If we're into the bright reds, like we hear in the Treasure Valley of Idaho, or southeastern Oregon, or just on the windward side of the Sierra, we're better than 20 degrees above normal. And then the contrast will be, and always before the front comes through, we see this bubble of heat across Nebraska. That is Sunday, where we're 10, 15, closer to 20 plus degrees above normal, but that lasts a single day. And then that cold air gathers and plunges southbound. So here's looks like our coldest, and we've got a little value over here in the lower. Can you guys even see that? Because I need to get rid of Karen's graphic there. Down here, lower center, right there, where it says minimum 42.3 degrees. So that's 42.3 degrees below what it typically should be for 9 September. That's, I don't know how many sigmas, how many standard deviations out of normal that is, but it's greater than 3, easily greater than 3. So that's just how cold that air is, and it plunges through the heart of Texas and then moderates as it gets slowly pushed off to the east. And then it warms up. We get a recovery, but then another little slug of cool air comes in. But this one looks like it originates more from the northern Pacific rather than from the other northerly latitudes. So that at least is the good news. Now, 6 to 10 days, cool in the middle of the nation. We've just talked about that, but also dry. We'll likely see some snow, and that's really kind of what I want to go to right here. Let's watch the snow come down. Let's bring that in. See, here's our snow. This is the blue, and you can see this tight pressure gradient. That's the difference between the, how do I say it? The low pressure, which would be warmer, and then the strong high pressure, this bubble right in through here. And then the tight lines means wind. just simply means wind. It's a very tight gradient between the cold high pressure behind it and then the warmer weather ahead of it. And so a big old slug of snow rolls across Wyoming, rolls across central and eastern Colorado, and then dissipates as it moves out into the plains as the storm kind of winds down, loses its potency. And then there's another one that comes through towards, again, 17, 18, 19, more like 19, 20, 21 September, another surge of cool air. So what I want to do is then convert this and look at snowfall. And then I might even have to zoom this in. Let's play this out to the end and then zoom it in so we get some little more granulation or resolution. So I'll go to sector view, come to, believe it or not, Central Great Plains. And then here's the snow as it's animated and runs across. So we're looking, this is 25 inches of snow, middle of Wyoming, and then through the mountains of Colorado, 18, 19, 20 inches. So that's enough to kind of put the fires out. And then another round of cool snow shows up in another 10 days' time. So that's kind of where we are. We've got a hot weekend in. I hope everybody's safe. They can enjoy it. Let's see. Yeah, no idea about the huge lingering effects. That's these big weather events, and when the news is concerned with other things, you don't realize what's happening unless you're in the field and go looking for the information. You're not going to know. So that's unfortunate that that's the way it's been. But Louisiana's got a lot of picking up to do, and the elevations are low, so that's water inland, and the time to drain is really low. As long as there's no lockdown. I hope not. It just doesn't seem like it would be the wisest thing to do right now. They've already got us wearing masks, which are of questionable relevance, potency. If they're not N95, then there's almost no reason to do it other than to make other people feel good, because that's kind of all it can do. Okay, that's it for the weekend. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday. It'll be Tuesday. Unless the snow just looks like it's going to be a humdinger, and then we'll get on here and talk about this, especially for the locals here in the San Luis Valley who have got gardens. And I would think that Wednesday morning, especially even Thursday morning, after the storm pulls away, we don't get a lot of sun, and if there's snow to melt, then that's going to be rough, because that's taking a lot of heat out of the ground, and then that'll allow for the radiant cooling to happen even a little more quickly. So we could end up with lows in the San Luis Valley between 18 and some of the colder spots to 26, 27. So in all regards, in the state of Colorado and surrounding, especially Wyoming, we've got to do everything you can to protect that garden to get it through the rest of September so you can bring those crops to maturity. Okay, yeah, we have, Robin. We've been watching this closely. We absolutely have been, Robin. We've been watching it. In fact, we just went out on a wood hunt into the forest looking for firewood because it's time. It's just time to get ready. Winter's coming, and climate change be what climate change is. If climate is changing, then it can be just as hot as it can be cold, and we're seeing that right now. All right, everybody, have a great night. No, Karen, I'm going to say no, but if it's there, since we don't seem to have a lot of people anticipating and waiting it, then we'll see. And I might even thinking if I do it, it would be a little later in the day, just so people could get a chance to get home rather than being in the car on the way. All right, I'll see you later on the weekend, and be safe out there. Please be safe.